let me see if I can explain this. You or I have, I would say, a firm foundation in our Judeo-Christian belief, in our biblical belief, the belief in what Western society has done. You could come to me and you could propose something. John, I've got a radical idea. And you could tell it to me. And I'd say, Joshua, your head's full of eels. What did you do? I mean, what are you thinking of? But for both you and me, we could talk about it. We could debate it. And finally, either I'd say, Joshua, that's not a bad idea. Or you're full of it. Okay, that's not going to work. For them, any dissent from any part of their worldview is a threat to the entire house of cards. They can't deal with that. That's why they have safe spaces. That's why they have trigger warnings. I'm an adult. I don't need a trigger warning, okay? They need trigger warnings. Beware, what's coming may upset you. Well, tough bones. That's nature. That's the world, right? And you can actually see this. I've had a college president talk to me one time at a private college about what she was seeing in these youth coming into her college that were in this postmodern thought. Because postmodern thought destroys creativity. It destroys innovation and creative thinking. If you give a group of, hit my microphone boom there. If you take a group of teenagers that have been trained in the new, what I call postmodern neo-Marxist ideas, and you take a group of teenagers trained in traditional logic and thinking, give them a problem that they have to work through. I don't mean a math problem. I mean just a situational problem you have to work through. The way they do it is two different ways. The traditional group, they're all grounded and they look at each other and go, okay, let's see. Our goal is to do X. Therefore, all right, I will go do this. Judy, you go do that. Come back and the other person go do that. Come back in 5 minutes. Let's see where we are. We break it up. Everybody puts in. If it doesn't work, we got to scrap something and try something else. The postmodern group, the first thing they start doing, Joshua, is they start looking at each other. Why? They're afraid to break the consensus. And so they're trying to figure out how to suggest ideas to the group without stepping over those little red lines that have explosives all along them that will go off if you do it. And a college professor I interviewed one time on my radio show said she gave this group of students the task of decorating the Christmas tree in the entryway to the college. So we're not talking about a little tree, we're talking about a 20-foot tree, right? And about an hour later, they come back and announce to her that they were done. So she goes out and looks at it, and it's decorated right up to about here. Not to the top, just here. And she said, well, what about the rest of the tree? And they said, well, we can't reach it. So she said, did you go over to the maintenance office and ask to borrow a ladder? Well, no. Well, why? See, that would be personal innovation. And that's not built into postmodernism. It's a group of people following a cult-like belief. I had another experience. I was at the gym where I used to swim a lot, and I have a security expert talking to me. He does bodyguard work. And he said, you have to use the OODA loop that the Navy SEALs use. I think the British Special Forces do. Observe, orient, decide, act in any situation. Observe it, look at what's happening, orient yourself to that situation, decide what you're going to do, act on it, come back and start the loop again. And he said, say I'm doing bodyguard work and I'm going to a big reception for international people. And I walk into a room and there are a couple of Muslim gentlemen there in their full paraphernalia, and they have daggers on their belts, on their center waist piece there. Now, two religions, Muslims and Sikhs, have ceremonial daggers. They just do. It's part of the religion. He said, I have to figure out if these guys are a threat. Or is this just something ceremonial? Or could they suddenly whip these out and begin stabbing people willy-nilly? And what would I do then? So as he's explaining this to me, there's a young man listening to our conversation, and the guy just couldn't take it anymore. And he finally says, yeah, but isn't that racist? See, his whole preoccupation was the latest politically correct thing, that we would think of judging people and judging discriminatorily. I turned to the young man, and this really made him flip out. I said, who cares? You're asking the wrong question. The question is, are these gentlemen a threat? That's the question. Race or everything. And you asked that question earlier, Joshua, and that's the reason of it, is that when you and I have a worldview, we orient to that, observe, orient, decide, act on the basis of that framework. To him, he was more concerned that the viewpoint might be racist than that he might be stabbed. And this is the problem you have with these two worldviews. And the tragedy is we let people thinking like that vote, because they're making a mess of the political process worldwide.